Okay, it's May 30th, 2016, and it is now 6:18 p.m. Happy Memorial Day to anyone, everyone. I will be happy when this one is over because this should be part three, the final stretch. Unless I make any little tweaks to optimize, this should be the third and final part of this little ABC thingy. So, just to refresh, we start off with the index page. This is the very beginning of the entire program. We get a login. We get a login that allows us two options based on the code. We could either type in U and P and log in, or we can type in the name Lisa and green with a capital G. Anything else that we type in is going to give us an error message. So we're going to go with U and P. We're going to log in. Now we are in. We went from index.html to home.html. We went from there to there. We have a drop-down list that if you click the drop-down list, you can open up the A page here in the iframe, or if you want, you could click an image link and that'll open up the corresponding web page in the iframe, or you can go down here and hit a list item and that will open it up. Once you've opened up a page in the iframe, you could click the backward and go backward as much as you want, or you could go forward as much as you want. It'll iterate through the entire alphabet, one page at a time. So there's 4 different ways to navigate. I've already showed you the code for the login page. That was my part 1. And then I showed you an individual single web page that was just this, a.html. Now I'm going to show you the home page, which incorporates a navigation area to the left with this green background and the pink iframe to the right that kind of ties it all together. So let me move this off to the side, and we don't need to look at index again. We don't need to look at A again. I did want to remind you that every single page has to link to this sound.js for JavaScript because we have 7 functions here that allow us to tap into any of these spelling words, and you'll hear an MP3 read the word and then slowly spell the word. Each one of these over here. So if I hit ask, you probably couldn't hear it, but I could hear it coming out of the speaker. I have headphones on right now. Okay, and also I have on-click events that save the things that we have clicked on, A and B, because it changed the image border to blue, from white to blue here. And here we go from a blue background to a white background, but this is kind of funny because sometimes you have to hover inside here to actually see the results of the last one that you selected, being having a white background. But down here at the bottom, it does save the the chosen one with a white background. All those are on-click events. Okay, so we really don't need to look at sound.js again. We just need to know that every single one of these pages, a.html all the way through to z.html, is going to link to this sound.js. We will, however, leave open our style.css and our home.html, and we'll refer to any of those. Okay, HTML, again, we're at home. This is the code that gives us this page with the navigation and iframe. Head, title, ABCs. You can see ABCs up in the browser tab. Here's the link. rel equals shortcut icon href equals ... which means we're jumping out of the current folder that we're in, which is pages, and we're jumping into the folder called images, and we're going to grab smile.bmp, which is a type image /x icon. It's small. It's like 50 by 50. It may be 100 by 100, but I think it has to be 50 by 50 to fit nice and clear in this little small space as an icon. Okay, so there's our icon and our title. Then we have the link right here to the style sheet, which we've been going over with every single part of this particular program. Link rel equals style sheet type equals text / CSS title equals blue. Don't worry about the title equals blue. This has something to do with me being able to choose between 3 different style sheets, but I'm not actually using that functionality with this. I've commented out the other 2 style sheets, so just basically ignore that part. And href, we're pointing to the style sheet. So dot dot, again, we're jumping out of the pages folder, we're jumping into the styles folder, and we're selecting style.css. That's the style sheet that we are using to do this project. All right, all this is nothing we need to worry about. It's all comments. We have a script. Script type equals text / JavaScript. Function open in my frame var1. And then inside the meat of the curly braces, we have window.document.getElementById TV, which is referring to the name of this iframe. Dot, don't forget the dot, src, whoops, src equals var1. End script. End of head. Now we're going to get into the body. Div ID equals nav green. Let's go into the style. And at this point, I think I will make sure that I go through at the very end every single style. I'll go back and forth a little bit, but then at the end I'll make sure that I don't miss anything, because it's easy to miss things when you're not actively running a page that refers to a specific style ID or class. But in this case, the first thing that we have in our body is a div with an ID of nav green. So let's look for nav green, pound nav green. There it is. This is the style for it. Width 40%. We're talking about this navigation area here with the green background. Background color green. Border 10 pixels. Green. Outset. Padding 15 pixels. Margin auto. Border radius 20 pixels. Float left. And text align center. Then we are going to create the drop-down list navigation. We have an opening form tag and a closing form tag. So you have all the way to line 117. All of this code from 57 to 117 is what gives us this drop-down list right here, okay? So we start off with a form tag. Inside that we have select ID equals my menu. Then we have this option, value equals, and then you have nothing in the double quotes, selected equals selected, and what we have showing, the very first thing that you see showing is this squiggle ABC's squiggle. So if I close out of here and launch it for the very first time, you see ABC's up there with the squiggles. And you end that option. Then we have a tag called opt group. And we gave it a class of DDL color. And the label says select one. Label equals select one. So let's look for the class in the style sheet, DDL color. And lucky us, it's right here next. Okay, so .ddl color means class DDL color. We have a background color of this #25A 0C5. When you open this, it's this pretty bluish, light bluish color. It strangely matches my dish rag. That's very weird. But anyway, that was a coincidence. Border radius of 20 pixels, so we get this little roundedness here. And if we go all the way down, you see it's even rounded at the bottom. Border radius 20 pixels, padding 5 pixels, and a border of thick black ridge. And it looks gray, because I think I explained in another video that even though you're choosing black, because you have to have tones of black, which really are basically lighter and darker grays, so that you can get a 3D effect. You can't just use just plain straight out black or you won't get the 3D effect. And a ridge and an outset and an inset, all of those are 3D effects, so you need to be able to use tones. So we're using tones of black, which gives us, basically is why it looks gray out here and even around the A, B, and C. Okay. The label equals select one. You see in bold and italic the word, well, they're two words, but they're squashed together, select one all together. If I were to make a space between select and 1 and save it, then when I refresh the page, this rectangle will have to enlarge by a space to fit it. So you can barely see it, but it actually opened up just enough so that we get that space between the two words select and 1. Next we have a tag, opening and closing option tag, class equals menu link. On click equals open in my frame. So we are calling a function, which I already told you about. The function is right here in the head, open in my frame, and we're replacing variable 1 with a page that we want to use. And we want to use the a.html page. The next thing that this is going to do is style.background color equals white. So it's doing two things. It's going to open up a.html and it's going to change the background color to white to show that you've selected it. So if I click on A and A opens, and then I go back in here, A has a background color of white now. And this single A right here in between the two tags is what you visually see. A here, B here, C here, and so on and so forth all the way to Z. Now, every single one of these options is nothing more than a copy and a paste. So I don't have to read A through Z. That would just be ridiculous. It's all the same functionality. You just replace the a.html in this set of parentheses with B, and then you just replace the visual from A here on the option to B, and B to C, and so on and so forth until you get all the way to Z, the very last one. And then you have your last option, which is your Z. It's going to open up the z.html, and it's going to change the background color to white, end select, end form. So remember, the script, the JavaScript in the head, works with something called var1, which is a variable, and we're going to replace the variable with a page that we want to use. So then when we get down to this, window.document.getElementById TV source equals var1, we are basically using this to put those respective pages in the iframe with the ID of TV. I hope I'm explaining that in a way that makes sense. Maybe I could have explained it better, but that's actually what's happening. You choose something from the drop-down list, it picks a page, and it sticks it in this element that has the ID of TV, and it's an iframe. All right, so we've went, and I can close up this. Okay. The next thing, see all this, when I hit this, it's just going from 57 to 117, and it just gets it out of my way. So the next thing that we see is the MP3 audio player. All right, I'm confusing myself. There's the form, there's the drop-down list. MP3 audio. I'm not seeing an audio player here. I see an audio player in the A page. Very strange. Home, MP3 audio, audio controls, sound introduction. How is it that I don't see this? Okay, I don't want to sit here on this all day, so I'm going to comment that out. I'll figure out what happened later, so let me just, there. Let me save this. Doesn't seem to change anything. All right, whatever. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to close this up. We have a table of image links navigation, and that's this. The table has a purple background, and each one of these table data cells has an image inside of it, and outside, nesting the image is a link tag. So here's our table tag and our first TR that goes from there to there, okay, which means table row. So from this purple to that purple is a table row, and we have 1 table data cell, 2 table data cells, 3 table data cells, 4 table data cells. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each image it's in is in its own table data cell. So here's the first table data cell, and here's a link tag. aref equals a.html, target equals TV. So we're taking the a.html page, which is this page right here with the apple, and we're targeting it to the TV, which is the ID and the name for this iframe. Image, border equals 0, source equals, we're dot dot, so we're jumping out of the pages folder, we're going into the images folder, and we're grabbing a.jpg. That's the image we're grabbing. And that's what you see right here, a apple and the word apple underneath. Title equals A means that we can hover over this image and you see the tooltip and it pops up and it's got the letter A in it because that's what we put right there. Alt equals image link. So if anything were to happen to that image, the words image link would be here where the image would not be. There's an on-click event, and what it does is only one simple statement. Style.border color equals blue. So it's taking the border color of this image, which originally is white, you click on it, and now it's blue. There is the end of the link tag and the end of the TD. So this was already the A page, so let me click on B so that you see now we've got the B page. Alright, the next table data cell in the same row is the B page that I just clicked on. aref from here to here. Wait, no, I'm sorry. From here to here, that's the opening link tag. aref equals b.html, target equals TV. What's inside of the link tags is the image, and the image goes from here to here. img border equals 0, source equals dot dot / images / b.jpg, title equals b, alt equals image link, on click equals same thing, style.border color equals blue. Then you've got the ending link tag and the ending TD. You see the pattern here, so I don't need to read all of these over and over again because that's just too time consuming. So we have the same thing happening with the next TD that refers to c.html with the title of C, and the images inside of the images folder we are going to pull out the c.jpg image file, which is here, and it's showing a cat. The fourth TD is talking about showing us the d.html, so it's the D web page. Target TV means it's going to be opened up in the iframe called TV, and we are referring to the image that's called d.jpg. Tooltip is going to have the capital D, and that's the fourth table data cell in that row. So we've just went over this entire first row, the entire first row of the table, and they're all highlighted. Every other row is done exactly the same way. Only thing you're changing is the name of the page you're referring to, the name of the tooltip that pops up when you hover, and the name let's see, the image, the tooltip, and the name of the page. Okay. Here's the third table row. Same thing. I'm just trying to fix the spaces here to clean the code up a little. Here's the next one that has the pages for M, N, O, and P. M, N, O, and P. We already passed these up, and we passed this row up. Here's the next row that goes over Q, R, S, and T. Q, R, S, and T. Next row goes over U, V, W, and X. U, V, W, and X. And the last row has only two TDs. That one for Y and this one for Z. And here you've got the end of the TD. Uh-oh. The end of the TD and the end of the table row and the end of the table. So with that, we've finished this whole section, the table and all of the image links in all of the table data cells. So now I can go back up to the beginning of the table code and I could just click this to minimize from page 129 to 213, not page, line. So now I can move all of those lines out of my way. The next thing we're going to go over is the unordered list item navigation, which looks like gray buttons. So we start off with our UL tag. It's similar to your table tag. Your table nests all your table rows and table data cells. Your UL tag nests all your list items. So everything's a nesting game here. So you start off with your UL tag and there is one list item. LI class equals menu link. On click equals open in my frame a.html. So we got one statement being obeyed there with the click, with the on click. And the next thing that they're going to do is style.background color equals white. So there's two things. We're going to call that function and we're going to make the background color white. And this right here is the text that you see on the list item. And you guessed it, every other one is a copy and paste. Only thing you change is the name of the page that you're opening and what you see on the list item, what you see on the outside that you're going to click on. So we go from line 213, copy and paste over and over again until we get to Z. There's the last one, and there's the ending UL tag. So that goes all the way to line 265. So I can actually hit this minus sign and close all that up. So we went from line 213 to 265 just for this little section right here. And last but not least, we have on line 268, which I could get rid of some of these blank spaces. On line 267, we have our iframe. Iframe, ID equals TV, name equals TV, source equals nothing. You have double quotes but nothing in it because when you first load the page, it's just a big pink box. That's all you see. End of iframe. End of div, the div that we gave the ID of nav green. End of body, end of HTML. So very, very simply, I just showed you the code to the home.html that kind of ties everything together. Now I'm going to go over one last time the style CSS from top to bottom. Remember that this is going to incorporate styles for possibly the home.html, for possibly the a.html all the way to the z.html, or the login page, which is named index.html. So I'm just going to read all of them top to bottom so that we're not missing anything. Body, background color black, margin 0 pixels, auto, padding 10 pixels, text align, center color white, font family Comic Sans MS. And I also noticed there was another font family after I did the last video that gave you the regular lowercase a that matches what we're doing here. And I don't know how to say it, trebuchet or something with a T, but the point is it has an MS at the end of it. I only noticed one other font family that had an MS at the end of it. Maybe that means Microsoft. I don't know. But that also gave us the A. So I could have used Comic Sans MS or Trebuchet MS, something or other. If you look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Pound login page. This refers to, obviously, my login page. And we have a nav with ID equals login page, and this is the set of styles for that. Width 300 pixels, background color blue, border 10 pixels, blue outset, padding 20 pixels, margin 0 auto, border radius 20 pixels, and text align center. This is for every audio tag that you see on whatever page. So here you have this audio tag. Where did my audio tag disappear to? That's just really weird, because I did have an introduction here somewhere. That's weird. Not a big deal. It's not like it's something that I have to have, but I just don't know how it disappeared. Who cares? Anyway, background color I changed to lime with 100%, and this opacity of 1.0 didn't really do anything for me. It didn't make the color any more vibrant for this audio player. So if I leave it there, if I want to make it more invisible, then I would just go from 1.0 to 0.9 all the way anywhere between 0.1 to 0.9. 0.1 being the most invisible, 0.9 being the most visible. So I don't necessarily need to leave this here. I could Z it out if I want to maybe use opacity setting for something different in the future, just in case I forget how to style it, which how could you forget that? It's pretty easy, but whatever. I don't even have to Z it out. I could leave it there. Whether it's doing anything or not isn't really besides the point. Sometimes it'll make me think, oh, I'd like something to be a little transparent, like whatever. And this will remind me that it's a style that I could utilize if I want. Then I have a class dot centered. And I used centered for my login page. And that way, no matter how wide or narrow my window was, it kept that login floating in the center at all times. So this did that. Display block, margin left auto, and margin right auto. And the div, I just made sure in the opening div tag, I said class equals centered in double quotes. Here I've got class backwards. Well, not backwards, backward. Color pink float left, and that's to keep this link hugged up against the left side. And then I have a class forward, which does the opposite for my forward link here. Color pink float right keeps it hugged up to the right hand side of this table data cell, just to keep them on opposite sides. Pound nav green, that means ID nav green. And what that is for is my little navigation area here that almost looks like a remote control that's green. Width is 40%, background color green, border 10 pixels, green outset, padding 15 pixels, margin auto, border radius 20 pixels, float left, and text align center. I have a class DDL color. So I have dot DDL color, and that's for these options, all of these options. It's actually for this whole drop down list section because it's not doing just the rectangles, it's also got the background behind them as well. Background color pound 25A 0C5, border radius 20 pixels, padding 5 pixels, and border thick black ridge. Again, that's for this drop down list. I have option menu link. Now, I'm a little confused because I know that I set my class drop-down list color that was supposed to give me these styles, but also these are options. The actual rectangles are the actual clickable options, and so these are the styles for those. I guess because I didn't give these options their own background color, they're just accepting the background color behind it. So for the heck of it, let me actually change a background color and see if it makes any difference or not. Background color, I don't know, yellow. That's going to be ugly, but I'm just curious. And then refresh the page. Okay, so yeah, so now we have a color for the class that I created, dot DDL color for drop down list color that gives us that background, and then option dot menu link, because the options were created. Let me find the menu link. Select ID, my menu, option value, opt group, DDL color, option class, menu link. Each one of these options have the class of menu link. So in the style, we have option dot menu link. And this is the complete styling for those, besides the fact that I just changed the background color to yellow. Color 000FF, and I believe that that's the color of the A, B, C, and D when you first open it. Cursor says pointer. When I start off, I have an arrow, and when I get in this section, it turns into a finger. I don't know how many different cursors that you could change. I never really got into changing cursors, but I guess if you can come up with something really obnoxious, or even maybe build your own cursor, like you can make your own icon in Paint, that would be kind of cool to make my own cursor icon. But I've never done that before, so I'd have to look that up and see. Margin 1 pixel, font size 100%. Again, I don't know where I came up with this font size 100%. I did it somewhere and I thought it was going to make an impact here, but I'm really not thinking it does. If I wanted to do anything with the font size, I would give it a pixels. Like, for instance, after my margin 1 pixel, let me say font size. Let's give it something ridiculously large, like 35 pixels. I have no idea how weird this is going to look, but just for the sake of argument. Yeah, see? Pretty massive. Which, when you're talking about little kids doing this, it might not be a bad idea to make them big. Or if you're making a website for people who have visual issues, it might not be a bad idea to pump the size up. So that's how you would do that. Of course, I don't really feel the need to make it that huge right now, so I'm not even going to put a size in there. I'm going to let it take the standard size, whatever it naturally is. That looks good to me. Float left. Not sure why I put that in here, so let me misspell it and see what happens when I take it out. Really don't know if I need that float left for that. Yeah, and I don't. I kind of got carried away with the float left style because it was affecting divs that I was nesting, whether it would encompass everything that I put in it or get sucked up like, have you ever seen blinds or something that have like our spring action and they just like roll up really fast behind everything? Sometimes my background divs would actually, instead of being as long as the contents that are inside, they would like fling up, and like this green would just be some little short thing right here, and then this purple would be flowing out over top of it. So I was finding that floating almost everything left, that everything was fitting inside the way it was supposed to. Sometimes position absolute would do the same thing, and sometimes it wouldn't. So I found float left to be like some little handy feature that I guess, get carried away sticking it everywhere. Text align center. Obviously, if I don't do that, I can show you that this will change things. Oh, now I'm a liar, because it didn't. Alright, if it didn't, then I can take that out too. List style type none. That's strange because this is not a list item, so I shouldn't have to deal with list style types at all. I don't even know what's up with that. Border, thick black outset. Again, because it's a 3D style, we're getting shades of gray to give that illusion. Padding 3 pixels so that our letters aren't butting right up against the border. It gives us a little open space. And background color yellow, which I don't necessarily need to keep that, because once I select something, the background color turns white. I guess it's up to you if you like the variation in color, which is fine, but I think I'll just let it have the same color as the background, and I think that's good enough, because actually what that does is, in my opinion, it doesn't make the drop-down list look too busy with so many colors. I can understand that whatever's white is different than the background and everything, so that makes it easier for me to assume that the white are the ones that have already been looked at, already been selected. Okay, and select. All right, this is probably what I was getting confused with up here. The select is actually this thing right here. If I take off these two styles for the select itself, which again, if I go back to the home page, after form, you have a tag that's called select. With ID my menu, I probably could have, instead of said select, I probably could have put the ID of my menu in there. Is that how it was spelled? My menu. And done the same thing, because it is given an ID. And just in case you have more than one select, let's say you have multiple drop-down lists here in a page, you would need unique IDs for each one if you wanted to stylize them differently, or if you wanted to refer to them in a unique way. So let's say I'm going with the ID my menu, and I took the styles out. Now let me refresh the page. For one, my anything that happens to be in here is now automatically floating to the left, and I don't like that. And actually, everything inside is floating to the left as well. So I do not like that. So let me get the Z off of text align center for one, because I do want them to be centered. And then, oh, you know why? I didn't put the pound symbol here. It's an ID, so I have to give it a pound. If it was a class, I would give it a dot. So let's try that again. There we go. Now it's centered, and now everything inside there, the options are also centered. But what I didn't like is how fat this was. I wanted this to be a little more narrow. I want it to be just a little bit bigger than whatever letters are fitting in here. So I gave it the height of 20 pixels to squeeze that whole drop-down list section down some. When I refresh, I just think that looks nicer instead of this big honking hole in there. Okay, so there we go with a little bit of stylizing of the options with the class of menu link, which is giving us all of this colorization and stuff, and my menu ID, which is relating to all the rest of them as well. All right, the next thing we have is .menu link hover. When we hover over the letters, you see the letters change from this bluish that they start off with to something that looks like white, if you ask me. I have not tried this, but I'm going to try it right now. I'm going to change the hover to red just to see if that changes my hover from white to red, which it actually doesn't. It actually doesn't. What about down here? Now these, I think these already hover to red though. Let me change that to yellow, because I don't know what browser defaults are going on possibly also. Yeah, I really don't know what that hover color is actually doing. Oh wait, I changed this to yellow. Okay, so this hover actually changed to whatever color I wanted. If this in fact is changing it, it doesn't look like it's changing. That doesn't look yellow to me. li dot menu link. That is for these things down here. This color, I don't know what that is supposed to be. I'm going to guess it's this bluish color. And then cursor pointer. As the arrow goes over top of this, it turns into a finger. Like I said, I'll have to investigate different pointers to see what effects I can get. The width of each one of these list items is 9%. It's got a float of left. I think I showed you before, if I took the float left off, the craziness that happens. Look at that, that's just horrible. So in this case, we have to have a float left. There may be other ways to style it the way I have it right now, but since this works, I'm styling it this way. Text align center, list style type none. Now because this is an UL, because these list items are in a UL, they're already unstyled. So this list style type none, I think, doesn't really need to be. Let me take that off and run it. Oh. Alright, I stand corrected because we have all these dots. So I'm going to go back to list style type none. Okay, the reason being, I'm not thinking right. If it's an OL, that means it's an ordered list, and you would get a number. Where all those dots are, you'd get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on and so forth. The unordered list allows us to use dots, disks, squares, or images for our lists. Well, I'm not using this as a list like a grocery list. I'm using this as a navigation tool, so I don't want to have any icons to the left of my links. So list style type none is appropriate in this instance. Numbers or disks or circles or any of that. Roman numerals, any of that. Okay, the border is thick black outset. Padding is 3%, background color gray. Now, the background color is gray. If we don't give it a background color, like everything else, if you don't give it a background color, it's going to bleed through. It's going to be transparent, and the only color it's going to accept is whatever it happens to be nested inside of. So I take the background color gray off, and I run it. Now it's all beige, and which that looks really horrible when you hover, and the hover turns yellow. That's just horrible. That's just really horrible. So we have to change that and refresh the page. Yeah, much better. Alrighty, how much? We're almost halfway done. The UL tag has a float left, background color beige, border thick black, solid border radius 20 pixels, and padding 3%. And as you can see, it's what we just talked about. It's this with the beige background. It's what's holding all of the list items inside. I want to think this pound form is not even being used right now. Something with the ID of form. Okay, for the heck of it, let me misspell it and run this. As long as everything functions, that must be one of these IDs that I had. I had multiple IDs nested, and I wound up getting rid of some of them. So I'm going to think I don't even need this at all. Let me double check though. Let me make sure. I don't think this has anything to do with the index page because the index page had a blue background. There was no gray background in it. Yeah, so we're good. So I can get rid of, oh Lord, I can get rid of this whole style. Something I was using at one time, but no longer. Iframe. That's when you first start. It's this pink section. And I z'd that out so I don't need a border. Background color pink, width 49%, height 90%, border 10 pixels, pink outset, border radius 20 pixels, position fixed. So when you use your scroll bar here, it does not scroll up and down, it stays right there. Top 10 pixels, right 10 pixels, left 47%, and padding 10 pixels. When you use position fixed, you have to indicate the top and the right, or the top and the left. You have to indicate the positioning on the page, as well as you probably want to indicate your width and height as well. All right, Roundest. I believe we talked about Roundest right here in the individual A page as well as B page all the way to Z page. I took this table and I gave it this particular curve on this one corner. And so that's how you do a single corner. Border bottom right radius 35 pixels. If I were to change this to 15 pixels, this is going to get quite a bit more pointy. Not completely pointy, but you'll see. And it was obviously dealing with the blue table, because the other thing didn't seem to move too much, but the blue table data cell got pointier. So let me turn that back to the 35 pixels so that it matches the other curve a little better. Okay, there we go. All right, then we have a set for the table. The table, whether it's got a class of chunky or if it's just any table, all tables. Background color purple, border 10 pixels, purple outset, padding 3 pixels, border bottom left radius 20 pixels, border bottom right radius 50 pixels. So this one's a little bit rounded, this one's a lot rounded, and the top two are pointy. For no other reason other than demonstration purposes. This table has two pointies, slightly curved, very curved, because both of these tables are sharing the same set of styles. Then you have any TD of any table having a padding of 5 pixels. Then we have .chunky TD, because one of these tables, this table in particular, we gave a class of chunky because we wanted to stylize the table data cells and give them these nice blue borders and other things. So this is what the chunky table data cells have. A width of 23%, border of 0.25 EM outset blue, background color black, padding 5 pixels, color white, text align left, and font size 25 pixels. We're almost done. I have a class of round bottom corners, and I don't really know what I used this for. Something. Oh, it's this one. I could see. This is the only thing that has two bottom rounded corners that are the same and two tops that are pointy. So this particular table data cell has this called round bottom corners, and I don't think anything else has that. And it's 7 pixels, so it's just barely rounded. It's almost pointy. I don't need the right bottom to have a border radius, so I'm going to X this. I'm going to misspell this one for the right radius, bottom right radius, and then make sure, I'm going to run it and make sure that it fixes this, which it did. So now this is pointy and this is pointy. These two table data cells are both pointy. This is rounded a little and this is rounded a lot. So I don't need that. Hopefully I didn't use this class for anything else, because when you use a dot you have a class and you can use that for more than one element on the page. When you use a pound symbol, that's generally for one item on the page, and a dot is for, you can use that class for anything you want. Round bottom left. Looks like that could have just as easily been the same as round bottom corners, because they both have 7 pixels and they're both dealing with the same left border bottom left radius. So I don't know. Let's see. Why would I do that? Let me see where this is. Round bottom left. We're going to go in home, search, find round bottom left. Find. Can't find round bottom left. Let me misspell this and see if I notice any changes. I wonder if this image had round bottom left. This image right here, because this bottom should be curved like this one is. That's only if you're really nitpicking. But let me spell that correct again and run it. And let's see if this image, this yo-yo image, doesn't round to that round bottom left. And it didn't. Did not. Oh, I'm at a loss. So since I don't know what that's for, I'm going to take it off. Since it's such a tiny, it's such a tiny style, I really don't think I should be nitpicking like this, so who cares? And then we have image. Everywhere that there's an image, we have a border of thick white ridge. The width is 96% of whatever it's in. You see, this image up here is larger than these because this image is 96% of this table data cell, and there are 4 table data cells that span the width of this table row. So this is 96% of a table data cell, and another table data cell is 96%, another one, and another one. So that's why these are smaller. Okay, and then finally, we created a tag called R with a color red and a font weight bolder, and I put the opening and closing R tags surrounding whatever letter I was dealing with. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to read that. So in the N page, the N.html page, I put R tag in front of the N and an ending R tag after the N, and then I finished spelling it AP so that only all of the N's would be read. Alright, so I did my style sheet top to bottom. I did the home page that has the navigation and the iframe top to bottom. I'm pretty sure that iframe ID TV name equals TV source nothing iframe end div end body end HTML. So I did all of that. And video 2, I went over the individual pages A through Z. And video 1, I went over the login page. So with that, one final run through, starting with the index. Log in here, U, P, login. Drop down, open the G page, correct. Image link, open the Q page, correct. List item, open the T page, correct. I don't really like this highlighting yellow actually, especially when I have a background of white. Actually, I don't like that at all. I don't like that, not even a little bit. Images, pages, styles, right click. That was the, that was the LI menu link. LI menu link. No, it wasn't either. It's this hover. Whatever this was, I want to take it back. So let me hit Control Z. Ugh, it doesn't give it to me. Let's say red. Yeah, that's better. Yellow on white's just not good at all. Okay, so there's the T page. And when you're actually in a page, the backward works, the forward works. And lastly, but not leastly, click on one of these, talk. All right, there's the entire gist of this project. So with that, you guys have a great Memorial Day. It's 7:13. There's still plenty of sun out there. If you guys are still cooking out, have at it.